androgynous. We are those of no pronouns, except in the case of us, we, and ourselves in first person. This is an update regarding the critical nature of our last broadcast. We are disappointed. Oh, come on. I have to take this. Hang on. What? Yeah, I know. I tried to contact. Okay. I'm in the middle of this. All right. Oh, well, that does sound kind of nice. Okay. I have to go. Sunday? Sure. Okay. Bye. Where was I? We are disappointed with the content we have been observing. However, it is not to say that your efforts have gone unnoticed. But we need to do better. You need to do more. Human society moving forward needs to add your creativity and point of view as the lens for the future of our civilization. Failure to comply will result in the success of the first great filter of humanity, and we will not progress any further. You need to get creative, get saucy, get busy, because now is the time. We are watching. We are everywhere. We are androgynous.
Hey. How's it going, you guys? You crazy mofos. This is the Daily Noonerino. And we're celebrating Hump Day, Wednesday. In fact, I just skipped right past Wednesday, and I'm going to talk about Wednesday now, as it's a genuinely ingenious name for a day. A hump day. Hump the day of hump. The hump, the middle of the week day. It's not for intelligent people to wonder about. Be in a quandary for quite a while. I just decided to skip the whole thing. Yesterday was my my tech day. I just decided to go and find things that annoy me and rip them apart and get the tech out of them. One of those things happens to be a QI coil for charging an iPhone. Yes, I actually was able to smash an iPhone, and I enjoyed it. I was a barbarian. I don't have 6 sizes of goddamn screwdrivers and 3 different types of screwdrivers to take it apart. No, I pried, I smashed, I ripped, I tore, and I got the damn QI coil out of there. Now I just got to figure out how to actually use it. I'm just gonna do some experimenting, learn some science, learn some electronics. Anyway, as far as I'm aware, I do believe that we are live on Odyssey. We are live on Rumble. We are live all over the damn place. We seem to be on, I don't know what the hell they call that bloody site. It's the yellow icon with a little bandito in there. Anyway, we're not on LinkedIn. They don't do 60 frames a second. They can suck it. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. And this weekend, we're also going to be on our own server on EPGN. And yes, you might actually have to register and log in, because then, only then, can we start unpacking and really talking some serious business, because I have a funny suspicion that this whole freedom of speech thing on Twitter is there's gonna be a bit of blowback, and I think there's gonna be some casualties. We're gonna have to see how things go. Be weary, be wise, and always be fully clothed just in case. Wear underwear, because you don't want to be caught without. Anyway, what the hell is this about? It's Thursday. Like I said, I skipped right past Wednesday. I had just a me day. I intended fully to go on and do a live stream, and I just never did. I just didn't do it. I was just, nah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And now it's tomorrow. And now I'm doing it. So do I have to do 2 today? Yeah, I probably will. One thing we are going to be doing later on today is we're going to be exploring the wonderful world of Johnny Depp and that whole stupidity. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a clips presentation, and a friend of mine from my hometown is going to be joining me, and she's going to be blessing us with her wisdom, and we'll be seeing what she thinks of this whole scenario. She's about the same age as I am, so we kind of jive on the same pop culture references. We kind of grew up in the same place, so we're gonna have some similar ideas. But she's a girl, she's a teacher, she's a mom. I'm a piece of shit. I'm just kind of me. I just do what I do. So, I mean, we're going to have some differing viewpoints. I kind of, I really, really adore the whole gonzo extreme that Depp is doing. He's definitely trolling. I mean, if a guy could smile more while giving a deposition, it's like he knows he can't be arsed to be serious. He's just like, fuck, this is so dumb, and everyone's gonna see just how dumb this is, how this has been carried on, and I can't blame him for this whole thing. I mean, I'd still, you know what? I gotta look at this whole thing and figure out who's charging who. I don't even know. I don't even give a shit. I really don't care. But I'm gonna actually go in. I gotta go and find out. I don't even know who the goddamn defendant is. Like, who's defamed who? Like, this is so ridiculous. We got freaking vodka bottles flying out of nowhere, smashing, severing fingers. We got people pooping on beds. We've got drunk, I don't know, 50 ways from Tuesday, stoned and just destroyed on airplanes and texting. I mean, this whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of like a high school, like it's after school special kind of stuff, like, but grown man, and he's playing the part of Hunter S. Thompson. But I digress. Anyway, where are we going to be come Thursday, Friday? Yeah, so that's going to be the show for today. Later on, we're going to be joining with Mina there, talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Gonna talk all about crazy. Actually, I have a funny suspicion Mina might, maybe she can relate to Amber's situation, because I hear that Mina likes to throw a good piece of china, if you know what I'm saying. Maybe a pot or pan or two. But, yeah, I have no idea who the hell's trying to reach me while I'm... one of the reasons that I broadcast to all these platforms are so that the people on these platforms are aware that I'm friggin' going live. And yeah, it's defeating the purpose, I guess. It is about 2:45 in the morning. I am tired. I actually did get a little bit of sleep during the day. I don't have a proper sleep schedule. It's just all effed up from, I don't know, 50 ways from Tuesday. I already used that figure of speech, didn't I? I'm gonna have to start working on getting some new material. Maybe I'll write them down on my friggin' pop screen so I don't look like I'm cheating. But man, what an interesting day, a week. There's so much to go through. Let's have ourselves a gander, shall we? See what we have on the on Z screen. Oh, actually, I have the right one there. Let's look here. Let's see what we got to look at on our feed. See if we can promote some people that are doing way better than me. 11,000 Pfizer documents ordered, released, and they prove what we knew. All right, Lee's Hot Fury. Let's see what we got over here. And make sure that we have audio. And make sure that this should... Yeah, this should just work.
Kim, what's on your radar?
Well, another round of Pfizer documents have dropped. This is part of the 340,000 some odd pages the FDA and Pfizer wanted to release over the course of several decades. But instead, the group requesting the documents sued, and a judge ordered the FDA to make them available by the end of this year. Well, each round of documents is to be delivered on the 1st of each month. So this past April 1st, no joke, over 11,000 pages were released. Between these documents and another document released on March 24th to the group, a group called Public Health and Medical Professionals for Transparency, we've learned some bombshells. The first bombshell in the document is that natural immunity works and Pfizer knows it. The clinical trial data showed those with previous infection of COVID.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, my God. Confirmed. Idiots are still idiots. Common sense still rules. Anyway, back to the show.
COVID had no difference in outcome than those vaccinated. In the limited trial, none of the vaccinated nor those with previous infection resulted in severe disease defined by either the FDA or the CDC. They were broken up into two different groups. The FDA and the CDC define severe COVID slightly differently. The CDC roughly defines it as anyone needing hospitalization, whereas the FDA defines it as anyone needing supplemental oxygen. Either way, there were 0 cases of severe COVID in the natural immunity group, whether they were vaccinated or not. And their own data also showed that natural immunity was statistically identical to the vaccine against infection. That's what their data showed. Yet, rather than say people with natural immunity don't seem to need the vaccine, which is what they've been saying in Europe, for example, Pfizer instead spun their conclusion and said, quote, final efficacy results show that the vaccine provided protection against COVID-19 in participants with or without evidence of prior infection with SARS-CoV-2. Another revelation from the documents was that adverse reactions were more frequent and more severe in younger groups. The document reads, quote, reactogenicity and adverse events were generally milder and less frequent in participants in the older group compared with younger group, and overall tended to increase with increasing vaccine dose. Older is defined as 55 and older, and the study itself was for 16 and above. So the side effects were more frequent and more severe in people under 55, even though we know the younger you are, the less likely you're to experience severe COVID. According to the Lancet, 16-year-olds have a 99.993% chance of surviving COVID. A 30-year-old is at 99.943%. At 50, the survivability is 99.572%. Only once you hit 60 does it drop below 99%.
Oh.
This is not.
A document procured during the dump was a consent form for a children's clinical trial of the Pfizer vaccine. The form is from December 15th, 2021, so only 15 weeks ago. And it interestingly states some facts that have been labeled by the mainstream media as being misinformation. The consent form lists several possible side effects, including myocarditis, which many of us know about. But the document says the rate of occurrence is 10 in 100,000 people. And they don't specify age or gender. So that's much higher than previously reported rates of 1 in 50,000 people. Even then, we know the bulk of those cases are in younger males. So when controlling for age and gender, the risk significantly increases. The consent form also states, quote, the effects of the COVID-19 vaccine on sperm, a pregnancy, a fetus, or a nursing child are not known. And this is something that has caused a lot of younger women and parents of teen girls hesitation, which they were demonized over. And people have worried that there could be long-term side effects affecting fertility. Despite these scientists admitting in this consent form that they simply do not know, it has been espoused as fact that the vaccines don't have any adverse effects on reproduction whatsoever. But the fact is, we simply don't know. Another idea condemned as a conspiracy theory is what's called an ADE response, antibody-dependent reaction. This is when a vaccine ends up triggering a worse illness than what the person would normally experience. And doctors like Robert Malone, who have been sounding the alarm of this as a possible reaction to mRNA vaccines, have been demonized and smeared. Yet the consent form clearly states, quote, although not seen to date, it cannot yet be ruled out that the study vaccine could make a later COVID-19 illness more severe. So if it were really not even something to be concerned about, the form wouldn't even bring it up. Yet here it is saying they can't rule it out yet. One other interesting admission from the document dump is this statement, quote, clinical laboratory evaluations showed a transient decrease in lymphocytes that was observed in all age and dose groups after dose 1, which resolved within approximately 1 week. So in plain English, this means white blood cell counts dropped in that 1 week after the first dose of the vaccine. So this is leaving a person with a weakened immune system for a week after getting the first dose of the vaccine. So there's a lot of things that we could speculate from this, like, is this why we saw sudden spikes in...
Oh, another thing I can speculate is to every time I was told I was being an asshole and fake news. Fuck you. You know, I can read, motherfucker. I can read. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this society when it's like, no, trust the science. Don't ask questions. No. Remember? Science is asking questions, dipshit. Fucking trust the retardation to be retarded. God damn it. Anyway, now, about 30 seconds left. Let's see what the rest of this has to say.
Cases in countries that began mass vaccination campaigns, with people weakened immune systems, where they're all catching the virus a lot more vulnerable to catching the virus suddenly for that little period of time. Also, since people weren't even considered partially vaccinated until a week or so after getting the dose, did this skew the infection rate? If you got a bunch of immunocompromised people for that week running around and then catching the virus and then they're considered unvaccinated, is that fair? These are questions that kind of leads us towards. But in the least, it seems like this would be good information for people to know about. Wouldn't you want to know that your immune system is perhaps compromised for a week? You'd maybe be more careful. We're at least learning about it now, even though we didn't know about it before, but now we're learning about it because of the data, the FDA.
Yeah. The data, the FDA, suck my bone, man. This is truly frustrating and maddening because I know the libtards are running around responding to the whole Twitter fuckery going on, and good. It's like a breath of fresh air watching these little dinks run around like morons and just like little spazzes that they've conditioned themselves to become. But anyway, going back to Robert Malone, who was basically completely banished from the Twitterverse and banished from other social media networks, YouTube, Twitter, what else, Facebook, just to name a few. He's the damn inventor of the mRNA technology, at least one of the major components of it. I think the guy's got the qualifications to make a commentary on it, on the topic at the very least, and not be hit with disinformation. See, the word disinformation now is not being used for disinformation purposes. It's used to basically do a cattle call and say, tell these motherfuckers to shut up. These guys have to shut up. over here. These guys have to shut up over here. Disinformation, they got to shut up over here. That's what it really means. It's just a roast by another name, and it's just like a turd. You know, come on. It's ridiculous. And, you know, God, I wish we were a multiplanetary species right now, because I just want off this damn rock. I got to get away from all you assholes. It's pissing me off. Let's see what else is going on. And by the way, this is 100% journalism free. This is not the news. I'm finding the news and relaying it. So suck it, Trudeau. What else we got? Ukraine's government has been overrun with CIA-grown extremists since 2014. Azov was just the beginning. Yeah, I've been covering this since 2014. I've known this since 2014. Everyone else is like, no, that's not what's going on, Rob. No, it's not what's going on. It's going on. It's on the news. It tells you at 6 o'clock every day. You fucking retards. Read a book. It's a good one. Jesus. 58 children saved from organ traffickers by pro-Russian curse in former Ukraine. Well, that's a spicy number. Volnovaka. I cannot say that. Ukraine resident claims the Ukrainian military robbed civilians during their retreat. I'm starting to hear rumors of a lot of crimes against the civilians by the Ukrainians and the Azov battalion. Western claims of Russian mass graves near Mariupol, another fake news hoax. I know, I went to see. All right, let's have a look at that. I'm guessing that if it's a hoax, you probably won't see dead bodies. So let's stay frosty. We don't want to see any dead Ukrainians at the hands of the Russians.
Western media is awash with new accusations against Russia, this time accusing Russia of secret burials and mass graves in a town west of the city of Mariupol. Accusations are that Russian forces threw up to 9,000 civilians into a mass grave in an effort to cover up their alleged war crimes.
Right.
Reports cite Ukrainian
That was the alleged.
officials, notably the former mayor of Mariupol, no longer in the city.
Wasn't this the alleged crimes that the Pentagon itself refused to confirm or verify, or whatever the parlance of the times are for such a thing? I'm just wondering if that was the same thing or related to the same bunch of things.
As
Whatever.
the source of what he calls, quote, barbaric war crimes, and according to him, Russians dug huge trenches 30 meters wide and chucked people in. So with journalist Roman Kosovo,
That's usually how mass graves are
site in question to see whether or not there
filled.
actually is a mass grave. It is Saturday, April 23rd, and I'm at the site of what Western media are alleging are mass graves. Now, these are clearly new graves, and there in the distance is an existing cemetery, as media have noted. This is a marking of a person that was born in 1941, has their name, has the date of their birth, and it's obviously a known site. Now, there are also unknown graves, and they are simply numbered, but there are many that are actually marked with date of birth, or at least with name. Here we go, another one, 1964. This is the second plot. These are not occupied graves.
I'm waiting for more Reddit warriors to come over.
Completely empty. There's one beyond. For the sake of accuracy, I'll take a jog down that way. I mean, this is just now, at this point, 2 rows, one of which is vacant. And that's it. Western media. Nothing else.
I've seen that back in 2015, 2014 as well, where mass graves were discovered as Azov or Aidar retreated. It's in the Donetsk region. And we saw mass graves with civilians. I even saw a woman that she was dug up. She had her arms tied behind her back. And she was pregnant, like in the latest stage of pregnancy. And she had a hole in her head, so that means she was executed. So mass graves is something that they do, something that they've done quite a bit. Mass graves, at least according to the head of Donetsk People's Republic, Denis Pashilin, at least 300 sites have been discovered since 2014.
Захораниваем мирных людей, которых привозили с Мариуполя, первых из погибших. Это 2 квадрата. Вот квадрат. И этот квадрат специально предназначен для мирного населения. Всех хоронили, как говорится, под номерами, которые опись ведется в морге, особые приметы. У кого были документы, на табличках указаны фамилия, имя, отчество. Всех хоронили в отдельных могилах и в гробах.
Можно теперь вам вопрос задать? Вот западные СМИ сейчас про это место говорят, что здесь они говорят, у нас есть снимки со спутника, здесь ямы 30 на 40 метров, куда российская армия сбрасывает трупы мариупольцев. Вот я вам сейчас доставил новость. Что вы про это думаете?
Это все бред, это фейки. Во-первых, здесь есть одна могила на одного человека. Человек хоронится в гробах. Есть ниже даже захороненные военнослужащие украинской армии, которые захоронены в гробах, в отдельной могиле. Если он опознан, у него есть табличка, либо же он под номером. И найти его как бы можно. Нету здесь массовых могил, захоронений не было.
Это не братские могилы, и никто тут никого не, как говорится, в общую могилу не сваливают. Каждому человеку, хоть какой он ВСУшник или мирный, это без разницы, это человек все-таки. И каждому человеку предназначена гроб и могила. Это все опровержение того, что хотят свалить, что ДНР военные хоронят как братская могила военных ВСУ. Это все обман, ложь.
Interesting. Again, another Facebooker. Wow, thank you very much there, sir. Oh, he doesn't like being called sir. Oops, my bad. Sorry, Sean. Sean McGuire's just communicating with me right now. Business talking behind the scenes, BTS kind of stuff. Right on. I says I'm kind of live on the air, live on the air at the moment. Oh, don't worry, we'll make it all about you. Anyway, just like to say, send a shout out to Sean McGuire. Bless him. He's doing a fantastic job given his circumstance right now. He's he's in a bit of a holding pattern, we could say, and on the go constantly. He's living out of his truck at the moment, and he's basically just trying to get himself set up and back to some normal routine, not so craziness. But he is always on though at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, which is 4 o'clock Eastern time, which is 9 o'clock Irish time, and that's Out of the Bag with Sean McGuire on Wednesdays on Irish evenings. Let's just, I don't like to miss any messages from the guy. Sent the shout out to you. Shout out. Sent a shout out at you anyway. Oh Jesus Christ! I can't type with this thing. At yeah, it just went at ya. Jesus. Sent a shout out at ya. Anyways, Christ, I almost forgot what the hell it was I was trying to say. Anyway, we're just ripping apart the side of the news that told me that I was wrong, but it looks like no. Someone's a dick, and it's not us. Yes, I think we kind of got this round. But Rumble CEO joins Maria to talk about. Let's see here. I've never seen the Rumble CEO. Rumble. 7 minutes. That's a lot of minutes. Let's see what else we got here. We can cover some of these other things on our Saturday show, which is Truth Hurts podcast, and we're going to be aiming for about 9 o'clock Pacific time, so that'll be midnight if you're on the East Coast, and if you're in Ireland, well, I don't know. I didn't do the math that far, and it's too late, and I'm smoking a joint, so hey, what can I do? It is, after all, 4:20 somewhere. Isn't that how the thing goes? Huh? No? Oh. All right. Looked like I was talking to someone, didn't it? I wasn't. Ding dong dong dong. What do we got here now? What else is going on? Ukraine soldiers should not wear Nazi symbols. Ha! Okay. Let's see. This is 34 minutes. This is a lot of minutes, but okay. This is a spicy topic, as they would say. It's a little bit spicy. Now. I just for putting it on, I just want to.
Welcome back to the Der Show.
I'll take it back if I don't like it.
Would like to see the Ukrainian army defeat the Russian aggressors. Certainly defend the people of Mariupol and other cities from having civilian casualties inflicted on them. I support the Ukrainian armed forces and their heroic efforts to beat back the much larger Russian army. That's why when I turned on CNN and saw Jake Tapper, one of the few CNN talk show hosts I actually admire, along with Wolf Blitzer and a few others. As you know, I'm suing CNN, so they're not my best friends. But
hey, you're not supposed to talk about your case,
when I saw Jake
bud.
Tapper interview one of
Even
the
if you are whispering
of the brigade
anecdotally
that is defending Mariupol and other cities in the south east of the country, I was very pleased, and Tapper conducted, as usual, a very good interview. And then I noticed the following on the screen. This is the CNN interview.
Oh, for
and
fuck's
and look
sake.
closely on the chest of the brave soldier, and you'll see a symbol.
Oh, for
I'll do a close-up. I took screenshots of it because I was so upset.
Oh, you're so
This
thoughtful.
is the
Why don't
symbol.
you get your fucking laptop
It's
and
the
do it?
yellow symbol I'm talking about, not the eagle or the bird, but the yellow symbol, which
The eagle,
I
bird.
know what it is, and I'll
Also
tell you about it
resembles an
in a
osprey.
second.
I don't know.
And
Does
then
that
I
mean something?
discovered that there's a brigade. The brigade defending that part of Ukraine is called the Azov Brigade, and here is its symbol. It flies this flag. Now, what is this symbol? This symbol is called the Wolfsangel, and it was the symbol of various divisions of the SS. The SS were,
my
of course,
God.
the horrible war
Did he
criminals
put it
who,
together?
engaged in
Oh,
genocide
shit.
during the Second World War. And the SS proudly wore this symbol, and it's become a symbol for neo-Nazis all over the world. Neo-Nazi groups in every part of the world, in the United States, in France, and Australia, and Canada.
Apparently not in the minds
show
of
this symbol.
Canadians
It's become synonymous with support for
or Americans.
Nazism. It bears a slight resemblance to a kind of swastika on its side, but that's not the point.
I'm
the point
sorry,
is, it was the symbol
Mr.
long.
Just gotta hang on a second. I don't mean to make fun of this guy, because people are set in their ways of they go through a discourse of how they obtain information, and they rely on it, they trust it, they trust their methodologies. I mean, it's a little bit self-serving, and it's a little bit what do you call it, confirmation biased, but at the same time, you know, you go with what you think is working, and you run with it, right? And obviously, he's been loyal to the information he's been getting and trusting it. But still, even then, even though it's not even an outright lie, it's more of an omission of information when it comes to the 2014, all of it. It's mostly omission. And misdirection, I should say. Not misinformation, because that's not very creative. Like, if you want to be clever, misdirection, because then you can never actually be called out for lying. You can be called out for doing shitty research, or for shitty handling of chain of custody, I guess they call that, for evidence or information. But I mean, God, I just forgot what the hell I was saying. The main point, but I want to get back to this guy. He trusts this information, and he's also loyal to it. But even then, he still found a clear tell. And this is only because he's wise, in the sense that he has researched this in the past. He knows the information from books. Those things with pages, they come in an electronic format, and they're almost as good. You can use those too. It's wild when you start reading. It's amazing, because you start to know stuff. Fuck, who knew? But yeah, this guy did such. In fact, a lot of people his age in academia actually read books instead of talking about writing books and canceling books on Twitter. That was what they used to actually write them, and good ones. And even if they weren't, even if they weren't correct and were more of an opinion piece, let's say, they still were good, provided options for different avenues of thought. And that was what we called a freedom back in the day. Just so you are aware of that it wasn't seen as a dangerous thing, because it's not. Crazy is what crazy does. You get a crazy guy, he's a crazy guy. You call him the crazy guy. He doesn't like being called a crazy guy. He's going to be closet crazy guy because he doesn't like it. Yeah, that was kind of how it went usually, Oh yeah, he was saying some crazy shit the other day. But he's okay now. He wasn't saying crazy shit today, so okay. We'll give him a pass. I mean, that was kind of how it was, sort of. You say too much crazy shit, then you're just going to be the crazy guy, and then that's a whole nother ball of wax. Then you have to go out of your way to say uncrazy shit. But that's even crazier. But it's sad, because the signs showed themselves in 2014. I saw them. Why? I don't know. I studied a lot of the Nazi side of Germany in World War II. Like when I found out about my grandmother's history, I did a lot of research. I dove right in. I even interviewed my own grandmother, like for I don't know what grade it was. It was early grade, but it was elementary school anyway. But I did a big, huge project and speech in front of the class and all that kind of shit. And yeah, man, I dove right in. I learned from a kid's perspective. I mean, that some of the stuff freaked me right out. But I was already kind of desensitized to that anyway, just because I was a weird kid. I wasn't really affected by it. I don't know. Other people got nightmares and shit. I had nightmares for different reasons. It was weird. But that's not about me. I'm not talking about me at all here. We're just talking about the the whole recognizing this German activity. And of course, these were sympathizing, organizations that Canada, United States, and Britain helped put into power, displacing, the already, albeit corrupt, current presidency that was there, and ousting said president out of there, which basically was, I have to say, an interesting story when you actually hear the whole thing. It's quite interesting. I don't want to really dive too deep into it right now because it's a bit convoluted. But look, in this whole thing, there's no good guys, there's no bad guys. You got to remember that. Just to say that you're being lied to about something isn't to say that you're stupid and you're rooting for the wrong team. Like, no team should be getting rooted for. And quite frankly, anybody ordering death and chaos on another person or group of people should be condemned and should be prevented and should be stopped, and that's how I firmly believe. However, the context by which people are really sinking their teeth into this is completely bass backwards. It's a repeat. It's a fucking repeat of what happened when Clinton bombed Serbia back into the Stone Age. Serbia was responding to Kosovar terrorists. And they were being egged on by a third party, obviously, given support with weapons. So they did their thing. And then Serbians said, fuck it, we're taking them out. Response? United States, not good. Clinton, yeah, what the hell? Well, might as well. They did 12-hour bombing runs, campaigns in some of the biggest cities of Serbia. Like, that place was destroyed. It was leveled. Like not even a fucking porta potty stood in some of these places. Like, nothing. Anyway, and all they were doing was responding to a terrorist threat. Now, I don't come at me and tell me, oh well, they were doing ethnic cleansing and this and that, blah 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 blah. Shove it up your ass. Don't care. Not my problem. I wasn't there, and obviously, yeah, someone's gonna do some ethnic cleansing. That's what they do. That's what they call it. That's what the loser calls the winner when their country's being, let's just say processed. Okay. For lack of a better word. Usually when two countries are at war, the countries, it's very often that they share cultural differences, which is ethnic, and well, they're not going to cleanse their own ethnicity. Of course they're going to go after the people they're at war with. So fuck, the whole term ethnic cleansing is absolute fucking dogmatic bullshit. So shove that one up your ass. I'll take a genocide. Sure, that's it's extreme to use, but I mean that's closer to what you're trying to say. But anyway, just trying to understand what you're saying, and I get it. But moving on from there, this daily Noonerino is a little bit. This is like a bit of a long and cheeky one, but hey, it is what it is. Where are we at now? We're at 45 minutes. We might be going for a record Noonerino. We'll know soonerino. Okay, that was wrong. All right, let's hear some more from this gentleman here. I'm curious to hear from his perspective because he's pro-Ukraine. That's fine and everything. And the rules of engagement are, you want your people to not, be dead. So anyway, but he's noticing that these support battalions that are supporting the Ukrainians they have this symbol of whatever he said. But
on by the SS, which was the symbol of the worst of Nazi genocide, and So I began to do some research on this, and it tells a sad, sad story. A story of a brigade, a brave brigade, that's doing a terrific job in beating back the Russians, but it has many, many Nazis in it, including in its leadership. And when people have said, why do you insist? You know, they claim they've been denazified, they claim that they're no longer Nazis, that there are some Nazis in the organization, but not in the leadership anymore. Why are they still wearing that symbol? Why are they showing that symbol on CNN? Why are they wearing it into the battle?
Why is it okay to say Nazi now on YouTube and Facebook? Why is it okay again?
And the answer they give is that the people in the brigade want that symbol. Well, what does that tell you? What if they wanted a pure Nazi swastika symbol? Or a symbol of a noose standing for what happened to African American people during the lynching period. Why? Why is Zelensky allowing this Nazi symbol to be used as the official symbol of the official army of the Ukraine in that part of the country? Well, you know, the answer is this is wartime.
Answers his own question with this question.
Do what's best for Ukraine, and what's best for Ukraine is to allow whoever wants to fight for Ukraine to fight for Ukraine, regardless of what their beliefs are, regardless of what their symbols are. No. These are not people who
hypersonic
just
missile equals
joining up to fight the Ukraine. This is an official branch of the Ukrainian army. It's been in existence for many years now, and it's been doing a lot of the fighting in that part of Ukraine, and it's been tolerated. I guess the answer that you would get if you sat down for a drink with Zelensky and he were being honest with you.
I would like to have a beer with him. That would be interesting.
But I can't,
I would like to have
in the middle of
a
war, make demands on a group of soldiers that are fighting for the survival of civilians and the survival of Ukraine. Yes, you can, and you should. Zelensky is making lots of demands on the world. They're important demands, and they're correct demands. He wants the world to put Russian generals and the Russian leaders on trial for war crimes. That's right. Even if it's not in the interests of some other countries to do that, put principle before interest. He condemns some countries in the world for placing their own interests, their own strategic interests, above those of Ukraine. All right. He may have a right to demand that, but if he's going to demand moral purity, if he's going to demand that countries not have interests, you remember as Dean Acheson once said, countries don't have principles, they just have interests. And he is asking countries to put the morality of the Ukrainian situation before their interests, and he's right to do so. But he can't sit back and just allow the Nazi symbol to become a symbol of heroism. I was disappointed that Jake Tapper, who knows, because CNN actually ran a story on this brigade, the Azov Brigade, about a month earlier. He knows what this symbol is, but he didn't bring it up. Obviously he doesn't want to diminish the heroism of these folks. But remember, too, Nazi soldiers were heroic. They did heroic things, individual soldiers, if you accepted the values of Germany and Nazism.
I hope my sound is okay, guys.
Terrible people can do heroic things.
I don't know if
and people with terrible values can do heroic things. But Ukraine today can't afford to have Nazis carrying their banners into battle if these banners represent Nazism. First of all, it's stupid. It gives some credibility to Putin's absurd claims that the reason that he's fighting in Ukraine is to denazify a country with a Jewish leader. It's an absurd claim, but when you see this symbol, you say to yourself, well, there's a little bit of truth to that. It's not denazification of Ukraine, but what is Ukraine doing? The other answer that's given is there are Nazis in every army. There are Nazis in the American army. Yeah, there are. There are Nazis in the French army. Yeah, there are. There are Nazis in the British army. Yeah, there are. But no other country in the world, no other country since the Second World War has allowed its soldiers to go to battle wearing Nazi symbols. Mr.
wow, like I'm kind of beside myself, wondering like how
There's a
what's wow, like I'm that was me. uh, yeah, I'm beside myself. Like this guy just hasn't put it together. Like it's like the one part of the puzzle. Like it seems like the linchpin of the entire puzzle, like is like a bolt going through every single piece of this puzzle, and it's the fact that we put them there. This is a war by proxy. Like, I I could see how fundamentally loyal he has become, almost to the point of a flaw, like to his source and data that it provides. This is, I mean, obviously he's a CNN watcher, so I'm sure he takes to heart the stories that they produce, right? So, I mean, they can produce absolute dog shit, and people take it as gospel. So, I mean, and that actually literally happens on a daily basis. And I mean, not everyone's an idiot. So and I'm not saying that this gentleman's an idiot. Well, he kind of is, but he's an old idiot. Like, there was a time where you could believe certain news agencies, like, because at the time they were made up of individuals, and these individuals would be go-getters. They would break the rules. They would do things. They would act with a particular agency. Now, I mean, the whole structure wasn't perfect. There was still corruption. There was still all these elements, right? But I guess you could kind of consider it like the early days of the internet. Like, it was very free. It was very open. It was a lot of freedoms and a lot of ways to explore it in a sense of discovery and building stuff, like, and creating, new protocols, languages of, like HTML and, Java and like all these other things, like all the technologies that kind of go along with it and get seeded. Um, like that happened back in those days with journalism, with the advent of radio and television. Like television was a big kicker, because then this is where you started really getting the networks. Radio was pretty much only effective initially in a local region, and then when they started to relay, like they basically set up repeater stations, then you know you'd have basically a networked, kind of a setup going, and usually it would involve different companies, obviously, because there'd be the stations that would do the broadcast, and they would be owned independently. Now, I mean, you take in like this kind of like hegemony, like this whole, like this government backed, like by licensing, what have you, like you get the CRTC. So you have this government backed kind of a front line of authority, just basically pushing over all the small people slowly. But in its wake, you have basically a corporate side of it buying everything up. You know, they'll be looking at things like the hardware. Okay, well, we got transmitters here. Boom, we buy the property, let the company operate. They operate under us, and then we just change the rules under their feet, or they can fuck off, and we'll just do our own thing. Win win, and that's kind of how they like it. And that is how it works. That's how it's worked. When I was in school, there was still family owned and operated radio stations. The few that exist now only exist like in very, very remote areas, hard to get to remote areas, and areas that also don't affect, very, they don't have like uh, kind of a residual effect on their surrounding neighborhoods, like the surrounding populations, because it's insulated by fucking nothing. Like, it's absolutely. So there's, some of these places, I know of a couple family-owned and operated radio stations that are still out there today, and small ones are popping up, and obviously millions are popping up that are just like internet, like IP protocol based, but actual physical radio transmitter based is pretty non-existent unless you are a licensed carrying member, with the Canadian, with the CRTC anyway, and in the United States it's the FCC. So, yeah, it's all controlled space. So, and controlled bandwidth, of course, because there part of the rule says you can only stay within certain bandwidth. Why the fuck am I talking about that? Anyway, got into the whole technical bit. That joint did me wonders. Let's see what the hell else this snob wants to not figure out. I mean, maybe does he figure it out like in the next, like in 27 minutes? Like, is he gonna do that?
Zelensky, if you don't understand the difference between not purging your army of individual Nazis and having an entire brigade go to battle under this flag, under this horrible flag, which now represents the country of Ukraine in battle. There's a big difference, and you can't do that. You can't allow that to happen.
Swastika wasn't even a symbol of anything before the Nazis. Like, it was like soccer teams. It was just a cool design. The soccer teams would have it. It just didn't have any meaning. In fact, I think it was inverted also. But who gives a fuck? I mean, it didn't mean anything until the Nazis used it and did some horrible shit. I mean, it could have been a picture of a dolphin. Who knows?
And, of course, Zelensky has been blind, deaf, and dumb when it comes to the Ukrainian complicity in
Well, at least his comprehension and retention is working.
Nazism. He berated Israel in the Knesset. If you weren't Jewish, I would accuse him of anti-Semitism. He berated Israel in the Knesset for not doing for Ukraine what the Ukrainians did for Jews during the Second World War. Well, God forbid anybody should do to Ukraine what Ukraine did to Jews during the Second World War. Zelensky is either blind or ignorant of history. I like him. I think he's a great leader. But great leaders are flawed. And he's deeply flawed when it comes to the history of Nazism and Nazi support in Ukraine during the Second World War. We all talk about Babi Yar, the single greatest horror of the Second World War. 33,000 Jewish women, babies, children were lined up in front of pits in the Babi Yar area of a park right outside of Kiev. I've been there. I've shed tears there. I've seen the scene of the massacre. 33,000 of them in a short period of time were gunned down and murdered in cold blood.
Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, being at the location is something. If you've been to the location before, during the event, or nearby it, or if you experienced the event, just being there, what, do you think you osmotically somehow absorb the freaking gravitational aftershocks of the event and somehow you're fuck off? I hate it when people do that. It drives me absolutely fucking bonkers. You went there as a tourist and you fucking saw the location. You went, wow, a lot of people died. That's so sad. But it's not like you were fucking there. Jesus.
Some of them were alive when they were buried.
Nuts.
And they tried to get out, and either they suffocated to death or they were shot. How do you think these 33,000 people got to Babi Yar? No, they didn't fly on magic carpets. No, they didn't take buses.
Trains.
No, they didn't walk. They were rounded up by the Ukrainian auxiliary police, Ukrainian nationalists, Ukrainian Nazis brought them to Babi Yar, turned them over to the Germans so that the Germans could line them up and kill them.
That's what Nazis do.
There were a few handfuls of Ukrainians
we have
who were righteous Gentiles who sacrificed their own lives and their own family to protect Jews. There were several hundred, maybe even a few thousand who helped out in some way. But the vast, and I could go for the whole rest of the half an hour saying vast majority of Ukrainians supported the Nazis, were complicit in the Nazi genocide of the Jews. Don't try to cover that up, President Zelensky. Don't try to rewrite history. You have said you want to see never again be something more than a cliche. Well, you can't say never again and have it more than a cliche when you're denying what happened.
This guy.
You have to say never again will Ukrainians be complicit in Nazi approaches and attacks on Jews and Romani and other innocent civilians. Who were the camp guards in Auschwitz? Who was Ivan the Terrible? All Ukrainians. Ukrainians were an implicit, explicit part of the Shoah, of the Holocaust, of the genocide. Without Ukrainian complicity, there wouldn't have been how many hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian Jews and Romani murdered in cold blood. Ukraine is not innocent. It is guilty. Many of the war criminals who were put on trial, and some of whom were imprisoned, weren't Ukrainians. As I said, whether it was Ivan the Terrible or any one of the many other terrible Ivans, and there were many terrible Ivans, they were Ukrainians. They were proud Ukrainians. And what do you think happened to them after the war? They were welcomed with open arms into Canada. You know, Trudeau recently said, oh, Canada has always welcomed immigrants and always welcomed refugees and always welcomed asylum seekers. Everybody should read a book by a guy named Irving Abella, a great historian. It's called Even One is Too Many. It's the Canadian story of how the minister of absorption would not allow a single Jew to escape Nazism and come to Canada. Even one is too many, he said on the floor of the Parliament. Even one is too many. Suddenly the war's over, and many Ukrainian Nazis trying to escape prosecution come to Canada, which needed farmers for the Midwest. And suddenly, one is too many changed into we'll take you. And indeed, there's some evidence that when Canadians went to try to get Ukrainian farmers to come to Canada, they were under explicit instructions, no Jews. Only Ukrainians who were Catholic or who were Eastern Orthodox. So Canada, too, was horribly implicated in the Holocaust, as was every other country in the world.
My brother, we kept German POWs north of Kitchener-Waterloo, which was known as New Berlin in Ontario. Almost all, as far as I'm aware, of the inhabitants there were released and pardoned and inextricably exonerated, and I guarantee that some Nazis just disappeared into the shadows. Guarantee it. A lot more also moved to South America. Some out, started some Mennonite tribes and, did their thing. But, yes, oh my gosh. It's interesting, I mean, I'm guilty of it too by saying, read a book. It just sounds like such an easy solution. But you know what? Read the right books. Fuck. I don't know. I don't know. Like, there's such a thing as not allowing yourself to absorb all the data. I don't know if he's just being selective, which is a cherry-picking kind of a situation. I don't do that. I can't subscribe to it because I have to see what everybody's saying. I don't know. I'm just I'm attracted to seeing all of the stories, and then I have my own opinion based on what I seen around the table. And I don't know. I grew up in Hamilton, Ontario. It's one of those towns where you don't have to be a criminal, but it sure helps. And or back in the day anyway, it sure helped. Yeah, if you're so inclined. But I'm just saying that I could spot I could spot the activities a mile away in a lot of cases, and some of them aren't even trying to hide it. It's so obvious, and people are just duped. They're just like, well, it's not my problem. Whatever. Just hang on, I'll just do my thing. Hey, look at my jet ski. Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunately that's a fallacy that we've had just as a social. I blame some of that on Gen X for sure. We whatevered everything into non-existence. I've said it before. I'll do an entire show on that. I think it might be a thing to talk to Mina about later on in the PM. It'll be interesting. But I think I'm going to leave it there because I'll just waffle for hours. I got to get ready to do some gaming. I'm going to play some Grand Theft Auto, and I'll stream that instead. So if you want to see me be completely, absolutely, well, 100% degenerate, then yeah, come and watch me play some stupid Grand Theft Auto. It'll be fun. But anyway, other than that, I'm going to call her a late Noonerino because it's always noon somewhere. And man, that was good weed. Holy crow. But I'm out. The whole Zelensky thing, believe me, you're going to see what happens. I think it's going to be a very clear finish. It won't be a finish in the big picture, but there's going to be a finish. Anyway, I'm out. Peace. And don't do anything I wouldn't do. This has been a Noonerino. I'm out.